Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Not just two guys. I got the paparazzi in here. What's that with taking pictures?
Man, but we are on the path.
You know,
I don't know, man. I post them on Instagram.
I know, but a picture puts like 10 pounds on me.
You need 20.
That'll make me a real human.
You need 20. I need 40 less, but you need 20.
I got a special camera for that. How you
do
doing,
you?
my friend?
Man, I'm doing great.
Yeah.
The coffee's starting to kick in a little bit. I'm a little slow.
Yeah.
You know, full transparency. We get in I think we're here at 5:45 this morning.
Yeah.
And we do 4 or 5 episodes at once. And it only takes a couple episodes for me to start getting in gear.
It depends on
coffee to kick
a lot of times it depends on the topic too.
Well, that is fact on that because I can get geared up real quick.
Yeah, that's right. That's
Good
right.
seeing you, man.
Yeah. Hey, guess
Hey,
what?
What?
Table for three.
Oh, I love Table for Threes,
Table for
man.
three. And today's a special day because I've got a pair of Glens and a mic. So hey, Glenn.
Hey, good morning, guys. How are you?
So
What's up, Glenn? Great to have you.
So
Thanks for having me.
I'll call Glenn the show Glenn, old Glenn.
Old Glenn.
And then
That's 'cause I am old.
I'll call you young, energized, and awesome Glenn. How does that sound? Could all that fit on your
oh my
your
gosh.
card?
I'm not sure I deserve all those accolades.
That's
but
a big business card
those are
right
big
there, Glenn.
adjectives that I don't know I can fulfill. But
Yeah,
that's your
so-
perception. That's great.
Absolutely, man. So for the benefit of the listeners, Glenn and I go way back. We go to the same meetings, and we've shared a lot of life together over the past 5 years or so. For me, anyway, my part has been about 5 years and sharing life with these guys, and just ask him to come and have a coffee with us because he's one of those guys at a meeting where things will be catching me, but then he does a share and he's just spot on. I mean, and you're spot. The beautiful thing about you is that you're spot on, but your basis is program. Your basis is kind of working a program, and you've got this air of not cockiness, confidence. That the program works, and you're kind of like a duck. Like I'm a duck going across the water upside down, right? People know I'm going across the lake, right? Because my feet are whacking, the water splashing, right?
Your head's on the water most times.
Right. But new Glenn, Glenn guest today, you're like a duck, but you're just like smooth across the water. And I know life is happening underneath you, but you just like keep this calmness and get across the lake without the splash. How the hell do you do that?
It's First of all, thanks for having me. This is I love this part of the whole program because this is the this tells me, should tell to others that the program works if you choose to work it.
If you choose.
And that's the deciding factor. You have to choose to make that decision, to get off the log and do something. Unfortunately, in my circumstances came, through legal action, and got sober.
So the judge chose for you initially.
Excellence was thrust upon you.
That decision had already been made, and then my life changed completely from that point because not only did I get a DUI, I got out of jail, I got a restraining order, and then my wife filed for a divorce. So this was a great set of 10 days.
Oh yeah.
As it turns out, it's like I struggled because I didn't want to be that statistic in a marriage, and I didn't want to be divorced. My parents were going on 56, 55 years or something of marriage.
That was the framework you had.
That's what I was exposed to.
Yeah.
I saw them go through what I would remember.
Right.
So I wanted to do that, right?
Sure.
I'm like, I can do this. But I did not want to be the statistic of not working out. And unfortunately, it came to an end. And I had to make that decision, which was right for me, because although the more sober I got, the easier it was to see that this wasn't going to work anymore.
Right. If I could ask, was alcohol... Was that the deciding factor on the relationship? But was it really the undergird the whole time, or was it just relational stuff as well, exasperated by alcohol, if I could ask?
What I didn't realize is that, there were other issues. Alcohol just
exasperated.
Just like the book says, you would drink too if you had my problems.
Yeah, right.
So it was
totally.
And I know that the difference today is that, alcohol was but a symptom. and all the other stuff was there, but it just took me too long to realize that the other stuff was there.
Yeah, gotcha.
And the more sober I got, and we were still married. We didn't go through the divorce at that time, and we were still married. It was about another 7 years when we finally decided to get a divorce.
Right.
And then but I was 7 years sober. You know, I understood the difference. I could clearly see the difference.
Okay.
But it was a conscious decision made on facts and, you know, emotional value.
So that's interesting. So you kind of got this big rock in the road called, you know, problems, right, and the consequences. But then the relationship continued, even though you knew you were on the right course. But you stayed the course, so you were actually married for 7 years into sobriety.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And sadly, the more sober I got, the farther we grew apart.
Sure. Well, because you just were embracing a different lifestyle.
And you know, although it takes. In a commitment in a marriage, it takes two to change. And although I was changing, I didn't necessarily see the willingness on her side to want to change. I cannot control that.
Right.
You know, it is what it is, and I'm grateful today because, you know, had I not gone down the path that I went down, you know, I earned my spot here.
Right.
You know, but it's much easier to go through life, you know, making better decisions that have less impact on a negative outcome, you know, today versus what I used to do. So the beauty is that I know better, and, you know, you can dance around the program all you want, but I try to apply it in every application in my life, and it's worked out beneficial for me in a lot of different ways. And, you know, what I learned also in the program too is, you know, the true meaning of, you know, being grateful, the true meaning of being thankful, and you know, all the words that you can read and write but never really understand the true meaning of them. You know, you get to go in depth into these, and when you are grateful for being sober or being an alcoholic, you know, that blows a lot of people's minds.
I remember when I first came into the program and hearing people, "Hi, I'm Mike. I'm Gary. I'm a grateful alcoholic." I'm like, dude, my life is a shambles right now. What are you grateful for? You know, now I get it. I'm grateful.
Such a mind suck.
It was. We're right. I just didn't get it at all.
And it's the perception, and it's how we perceive the situation, and what it truly is, and what is the value of those words. What is the value of me saying just what I said?
Right.
By saying that, I'm telling myself that I'm grateful for being out, because what comes with being an alcoholic or a sober alcoholic is the blessing of not creating the mess and chaos that I once did. Right. But I have to make the right decisions because I got a lot of people counting on me.
All right.
You know, but I still accountable to myself too. So right now my life is completely out of balance. You know, I'm heavy on work, I'm heavy on family, short on me, and probably short on AA. You know, so I can see this today.
But you're aware of that.
I'm aware of it.
Right.
And I try and do the best I can to keep that balance and do everything that I can. It's a challenge. You know, for me, it was easy to put down the bottle. You know, it's harder, but it's easier to deal with life sober. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
And I'm not confused by that today.
Right. You know, it's funny. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but, you know, it was easy for me to put the bottle down. But you said in your opening about the choice. I still have that choice. And it's only, 20-some inches away from my arm extended to my lips, right? That extension of my hand to my lips. And it's that choice is always right there. But this going back and tying that into the I'm a grateful alcoholic, I know what that means to take that drink. I know where that's going to lead me back to. And so I'm grateful that I have that knowledge. That's the part I'm grateful of. I'm a grateful alcoholic because I'm grateful I have the knowledge of the difference between old Mike and new Mike, right?
Absolutely. But what goes beyond what you just said, though, is that one, you've got to have, you've made the decision, then you know what could happen, but you got to have you have to have a secondary backup. You got to hope that God's on your side and can say, Mike, or, you know, are you really thinking you need that?
That's
you know, a lot of things have to happen negatively to bypass, to circumvent, to get to that drink.
Right.
If you're working an honest program.
Right.
But it is cunning, baffling, powerful. We cannot deny that. But we can use every resource that we have when we need it, and not be so reluctant just to rest on your laurels that you're not going to take that drink.
Yeah, so for me, it was a little opposite. For me, it became impossible for me to put down the drink without getting medical help. I mean, I just couldn't do it. And once I started the shakes, I just had to keep drinking until medically somebody stopped me. And yeah, I heard I'm a grateful alcoholic, and I think I am that today, without a doubt. But then I love the people that say, I'm grateful that I'm an alcoholic. And for years, I'm like, man, that is such mental bullshit, right? Like you're just trying to kid yourself, you know? Why would you ever be grateful that you went through this life? Mm-hmm. But sitting here today, I can understand the meaning of that, and maybe I'm a little bit there, because there's no way that I would get where I'm at today and the life I have today without going through that hell, without going through that alcoholic hell. So, I mean, let's just say there's 12 years of alcoholic hell. That's a long part of my life, right? Mm-hmm. But I'm telling you, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, now 23, best years of my life. Mm-hmm. And the only way that I am getting those years is through the program of AA and through sobriety. And sobriety got me to AA. God got me to AA. And then, you know, I surrendered. So I'm starting to understand how people say that. And Glenn, I understand the whole balance thing, you know, and the first thing I heard there when you were talking about that was awareness, right? Because a lot of times you just go through life and you're just not aware. Now Mikey's aware because Mikey's got a calendar with all these colors in it, right?
My color-coded calendar.
You're still doing that, right?
Oh yeah. I got in my Outlook calendar. I've got
so that helps
my
awareness.
Google calendar. You're right. I got yellow for AA, purple for religious church. I got blue for work, and I got green for family. And it's funny. I can look at the week ahead and go, "Where's the green? Where's the yellow?" Or I look at my week after, and I say, "Look at how much I filled up my day with blue." Really, does it matter? Far too much blue.
Do you, quick question,
yeah.
And then Glenn will jump back, but do you change a lot of those colors during the week?
Oh, yeah, well, because things will get super. So once I do an event.
Life juggles.
Yeah, life juggles, so I put in there what I actually did. So
you
there was
compare
a
the
snapshot of
plan
what I
versus
wanted.
reality?
Yes,
Wow.
right. It's easy. Google. They do everything.
I think
Glenn, I need a PhD in calendars, man, to figure that out.
I think one of the best gifts I've received in AA has been the awareness, up and above, beyond anything. You know, that because you have to be aware of your surroundings, the people you're there, the situation. I mean, there's a lot of things that you can take in and make a good decision of what you should be doing or not doing. But with a clear head, you can make that decision. But being aware of your surroundings and the potential things that may come out of your mouth that could be offensive or something, your actions. Nobody's watching. You know what are you doing? And that awareness for me has been key, because now I'm holding myself responsible more than I ever did before. Even though I thought I did, certainly didn't, wasn't doing a good job. But today I have no choice. But it's easier to help me stay accountable, and because I'm aware of my surroundings and what I need to do. But I think awareness is key. Because you can't do anything about anything until you're aware of what this problem is.
But, you know, and that all sounds good on the rosy side of life. Hey, I'm aware that maybe I need to be spending a little more time with my kid, right? Or maybe I'm aware I need to be spending a little less time at work. But then there's also the awareness that you can't change a person, place, or thing in your benefit, right? And so that sharp awareness, it hurts. And we don't escape that hurt. We deal with it. We process it, right?
But we do that, sober.
Sober, right?
And that's the beauty of it. Whereas before we polluted ourselves beyond belief, and we don't even remember what we were drinking about when it's all over.
Right.
Only when we did wake up,
that's
it was
true
still
story.
There.
Right.
But it's much easier to live, doing the next right thing, as we say, as much as you possibly can. It's being aware for me is just about keeping myself in check. But the bigger thing that I found too in this whole program is the ability. Boy, some of the small things. I got a lot of things to worry about, and when I used to struggle with some things at work or whatever, and they just gnaw at me, knowing that I should have done this, and I'm not going to do that, and I didn't do it, and I still haven't done it. 2 weeks go by, and I still haven't done it. That eats at me. That eats at me, and I know that's trouble. But it takes until I become aware that that's what's bothering me. I know it. I just haven't admitted it yet. And when I do that, boy, it sure seems that things get better real quick, because I let go of the little stuff that used to drive me crazy because I got bigger things to worry about.
Right.
Sounds like you're using some tools.
Yeah, and knowing you, and if I hope you don't mind this, but you've got life challenges that, as do I, and as do Glenn. So we've got this juggling act that we have to do. And I hear you saying, things at work you have to do, and you got a little one. He's awesome, and you got to juggle that, and but yet again, going back to my duck analogy, this awareness doesn't seem to feather you. I mean,
and maybe physically I don't show it, or emotionally I don't show it. It's there, but I still if I just do what I'm supposed to do, maybe a lot of those struggles go away. It's when I fight,
next right thing.
When I fight, what maybe I don't want to do, and just do it. It sure seems to make a big difference.
Okay,
in the outcome.
That makes sense to me.
But I mean, I understand I have lots of things going on, and to the average person, they're like, wow, I don't know how I would do that.
I don't know, right?
But I have a choice, but it's. It's like I just also have a choice not to drink, but I have a choice to do the right thing as well, and that's what I choose to do as often as I can. So it's easier to do the right thing, and then because that, I learned quickly that I also have to do things right then and there. I can't procrastinate not picking up that because, I'll do that later, or I'll do that later. Before a long Saturday comes and I got a lot of do that later things to do.
Right.
And then I'm exhausted because I finally get an opportunity to do something for me. And I'm like, I got to do this.
That's my red color, by the
way. but
that sounds like my day coming up today.
So I've learned to do things and just do them and be done with it. And then I know it's done and I don't have to worry about it. And another thing off my head. One less thing to clog up my brain.
Right. So tell me about working your program these days, and because I'm sure Glenn and I talk a lot about the head trash, and we had a recent episode on relapse, and which breaks our heart, but it's a reality for some people that they're going to relapse. But what do you do? Because I know you well enough to know that sobriety is your priority in your life, and that without sobriety you have nothing. I've heard you say it. And so what do you do? What do you do today? What would you recommend to the listeners, if you will, the things that kind of keep you in that lane, that because of that lane, you do the next right thing? So what are some of the things you're doing in your program? You're here having coffee with us, man. That's huge.
Let's assume this is a newcomer. I would give advice to a newcomer is jump in with both feet. What do you got to lose?
Right.
One of my favorite sayings in the big book, and a paraphrase is, I think in Appendix 2 is the best way to keep a man in everlasting ignorance is to have contempt prior to investigation. So the short story of that is how do you know that AA doesn't work until you give it a chance to see if it works or not? You don't have anything to lose. Whatever you've done up to this point got you here. Anything else that, have you tried this? Yeah. So until you say that it doesn't work or it's not for you, you don't know that.
Right.
And, we're living examples of we didn't know that either, but we took
no
a chance.
Yeah.
I needed a belief in something else.
Yeah.
I needed a belief that something would work. And that phrase is another key thing that keeps me motivated on a daily basis. Before I poo-poo to say, I don't want this job, I wouldn't have no chance. I can make an intelligent decision with some history maybe and some experience and say that's true. But in life, I can't necessarily always make that choice. I have to decide, well, if I don't like this cup, how do I know? Because I haven't tried it yet.
Right.
I can't. I live that a lot in my life too, just to say, before I say, that's not for me, I have to try it to make sure that I can say it's not for me.
Gotcha.
But I think there's a lot of ego there. Because when I related to what you were just saying, when I make judgment decisions on things that I haven't tried, that's my ego. That's my thinking I know everything. And what I have found in sobriety is, in fact, I'm amazed at how much I wasn't right. And there's things today I make immediate judgment calls, and I'm not the driver of my bus today. I'm in the back seat, and I am amazed in sobriety how much my gut instinct is wrong. And yet 50 years of my life, I drove that bus based on my gut. And the crazy part is I thought I was the know-all, be-all. And as I'm watching the bus being driven today and how much I was wrong, I sit there and think, what would my life have been like if I had actually taken a little more in, right? And not just the ego saying my way's the best way, my way, what I touch turns to gold. And so I love surrendering on a daily basis and say, hey, I don't need to drive the bus today.
Right.
And lastly, the serenity prayer is probably the thing I recite
I love
the
that.
most.
I say that almost every day.
And multiple times a day in some situations, but it's for me, it's an almost an instant gratification of I can check out of whatever bad neighborhood I'm in and get back to where I want to be.
I like that.
I love that, man.
Yeah.
I love that.
I'm in a bad neighborhood right now, man. And I love the fact that
that goes back to awareness.
That's right. It keeps coming back to the awareness, and then doing the next right thing. And I struggle with that for a long time. And because I'm like, well, what's the next right thing? I don't know. Higher power, tell me what the next right thing is. Do I have a turkey sandwich or a ham sandwich?
Big decision.
Big decision. But what I've learned through coffees, especially with my partner Glenn here, is what I've learned is that you know what the next wrong thing is. Right, so you can begin to process and move down the right path by identifying what the next wrong thing is. And the next wrong thing for me is usually how I'm perceiving something, and then it goes back to the serenity prayer. How am I perceiving it? No, it's good stuff.
I love serenity prayer.
Yeah, serenity prayer is really good. I use it. Certainly we say it during meetings. I also like before the serenity prayer meetings, just getting a little quiet time going to get because in that chaos that we live in, that duck trying to get across the water, it's good just to stop and rest and just for a moment. And I don't do enough of that, I don't think. And because I've heard both of you talk about
because your calendar's full of colors.
My calendar's full of colors, and
you would need a new color of like silence.
No, it's good stuff. So tell me a little bit about the short shit. How's he doing?
The baby is doing good. We did our first swim lesson last night.
Nice.
It was fun. I was kind of I've been running all week long. So this week for whatever reason's been hell. We had a death in the family. Had a service out in Morris Thursday night. Sadly, it's the father of the groom who's getting married in July. Lindsay's would-be brother-in-law. So it's ugly, It's sad because he's a great guy. Anyway, that would just running all week long, and then to cap it off, I get to be here first thing Saturday morning. However, I'm up early anyway. So
sleep is overrated.
Sleep is grossly overrated.
I get my 6 every night, and that's all I get, so it doesn't matter.
So, parting advice for the listeners, keeping in pace with their sobriety and recovery, and what's your parting advice for people? What do you want them to hang on to? As
we always say, and what most people never really hear is, keep coming back. Keep showing up. Eventually, their mind will follow, and it will do that. And I think it takes time, but having, as a group, there's nothing more important than everybody displaying what the real meaning of being sociable is, and going up to the newcomer and shaking his hand and saying hello. It's great for everybody. It's great for everybody. It's great for everybody's sobriety to do all these different things but it's for a reason. So I don't know, keep doing the next right thing in everything that you do, and the more you stick around in AA, the more that you want to keep doing that. Yeah.
Well, you're a good example of somebody who embraced me when I walked into the room, because I looked to you and to Glenn, because I didn't believe I was going to be a guy that was going to succeed in this. Like you said, I thought it worked for you two, but I didn't think it was going to work for me. But the more I saw it really working and got to know you guys, and it's like, wow, they got struggles too. Well, they got real deal. They got trauma. They got life. They got balance. They got jobs. They got wives. They got, this is the real deal. I can do it. They're doing it, So you're right. Embrace the newcomer, and allow yourself to be embraced.
That's key too. You got to be receptive. You got to be willing to accept that.
I love it. Glenn, thanks for coming
Yeah,
in,
thanks
man.
for coming
Hey,
in, man.
guys, thanks for
joining
having
us
me.
in the virtual coffee shop.
Ding, 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 ding. All right, man. Love you guys.
Love it. All right, brother. See you later.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@sober.coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.